Welcome to the breakdown. I'm Tara Setmayer. The Rick Wilson is not here if you haven't noticed, but my very good friend, special guest co-host with me tonight, former Lieutenant Governor of Maryland, former RNC chairman. You've seen him on MSNBC. Michael Steele is here with me to hold down the fort tonight. Michael, welcome back.
What up? How are you doing? Look, I'm doing my best Rick impersonation. You got the hair. I'm working on it. And I brought a little late night Michael Steele with me, so we're good.
Listen, we all are here for Michael Steele After Dark. I look forward to this. It's like an annual event.
How you doing, girl?
Oh, well, thank you.
I've seen you on The View. I've seen you on my network at MSNBC. I see you everywhere. This is all good. Championing democracy and the cause. Appreciate
you. Thank you. I'm trying to do my part to keep these bastards honest and inform people and make sure people don't get complacent, that they pay attention so we can save this democracy because we're in some trouble.
Yeah, I was going to say, girl, you need to get your mama skills on. That's what you're doing.
Right. Good Lord. Well, anyway, let's get right into it. So something that we do on Tuesdays is it's called Last Week in the Republican Party. And it's a mashup of all the batshit crazy that happens in the Republican Party from week to week. So we're going to run that. And then you and I are going to talk a little bit about, maybe some of your reaction to what we saw and then get into headlines. So
I'm drinking.
Yes, of course. That is not just a Coke. Roll it.
What a glorious day it is. Have you heard the news? Double vaxxed, double boosted, flip-flop Fauci reportedly has COVID.
Always stay up to date on your COVID-19 vaccines because, it will give you COVID-19, just like it has Fauci and everybody else.
How do you think they're going to surveil you under the skin?
Every member of Conservative Inc. that backs this Ukraine war is a simp.
There was very big, everybody.
I only get but hate from the Democrat Party. They want to send me back to Mexico.
Pieces of evidence, cyber evidence.
One doesn't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup.
I disagree with that as somebody who has helped plan coup d'etat. Not here, but, other places.
From the 2020 election that we didn't even know before that now we have.
Offshore drilling isn't just safe, it's actually good for the environment.
There was testimony that was so blurry that I was having vision issues.
How is it that we classify bacteria on Mars as life, but not a beating heart in the womb?
Then there was this testimony with such bad audio that they needed scrolls on the bottom.
We have got to grab hold of the children in this country. We've got to corral them, get them in a headlock and drag them off into what my mom used to call forced family fun.
It's not enough to say we're against trannies. You got to be against women's rights, too.
So much for this myth of separation of church and state.
It's not enough to be against blue-haired feminism. You got to be against women getting educated.
I'm going to remind people right now that the largest standing army in the world are American gun owners. We've got over 1 trillion rounds of ammo out there.
I'm like Rosa Parks with a Glock.
This is Congressman Ronnie Jackson from the great state of Texas. On behalf of all the law-abiding gun owners in the state of Texas, I just want to say, come and get it.
I put it another way, you're a bunch of pussies.
Oh my goodness gracious. So, Michael, usually we just pick out one or two things that just drove us crazy. I'll start.
I got my favorite, but you go start.
Go ahead. Well, you go first. You're the guest.
My favorite was Ambassador Bolton. He's like, now I don't know if you call that a coup. I've done a coup.
Right.
I know what a coup looks like. And everybody's like, excuse me, you've done a coup?
Right. Jake Tapper.
I'm supposed to do that.
Right. Jake Tapper was like, hold on, let me come back to that. Did I hear you just say that you've planned coups? That was wild. That was during the last January 6th hearing that day. And it was like, I'm sorry, what? That's the whole thing. A couple of things that stood out to me were just one, the absolute sick, twisted, gleeful way in which some of these people were happy that Dr. Fauci got COVID. It's just that a morose, sick, twisted,
Yeah.
low class, typical thing of these people, just juvenile. And the other thing, though, the two things, and it kind of it's part of our conversation later. We're going to talk January 6th and some stuff first in Bannon, but this idea of these lunatics that are running for governor of Pennsylvania and Arizona, Doug Mastriano talking about this myth of church, separation of church and state. Like, this guy is dangerous. And then you have Carrie Lake out there, who's a QAnon wackadoodle in Arizona, making comments about there's trillions of rounds of ammo and the largest standing army in the world is American gun owners. I mean, these people are fomenting violence, and you wonder why January 6th freaking happened. It's not just Trump.
So while mine was more fanciful, yours was definitely more serious, because you tapped on to two very important elements that have converged in our party politic. One is the glorification, and I like the way you put it, sort of animating violence and transposing it to everything So the fact that you're pronouncing the trillion of ammo held by citizens out there, presumably to be used for what purpose? Deer hunting?
Right. No, as a standing army. What does an army do?
Yeah, we have an army. We don't need a standing army. It's called, we got the Navy, we got the Army, the Marines, the Air Force, the Coast Guard. So we even got fucking Space Force. So we don't need your bullshit additions. So there's that. But the second piece is that it becomes animated, brought to life by candidates running for serious offices.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not like this bitch is running for dog catcher.
Right.
He's running for governor.
Yes.
And he's out here espousing this horrific narrative that these Republicans are applauding and giving license to. And he's saying things that are not only dangerous to the state of Pennsylvania and the people who live there, but to the country as a whole. He's already told us, Tara, that when he's governor, he's going to put in place someone as Secretary of State who will, when called upon, deny electoral votes to any Democrat who happens to be running for president. I mean, he basically said, Democrats don't even think you're going to get the electoral votes out of this state because you're not. We already know that if your candidate wins, it's because he's cheated, and therefore I have the power to push back on that. These are the people. So you see this convergence.
Yep.
It results in the tip of the spear was January 6th. What comes next is even more frightful and deadly, because it's going to be happening in pockets around the country as you see battles at boards of elections, as we've already begun to see at school board meetings, over bullshit.
We've already seen it, Michael. I mean, you live in the DMV like I do. You saw what happened in Virginia. That was the test case. That was the petri dish in the off-year election, was to see whether the culture wars and this, the critical race theory nonsense and ginning up parents about all these things, if that would work. And it got Glenn Youngkin freaking elected here. And look what they're doing. These people this isn't Glenn Youngkin. Okay.
Right.
Mastriano was a January 6th financier. He bussed people there. He was there himself. And the governor of Pennsylvania, and we keep reminding people, has the power to appoint the Secretary of State. Not every state does this. Some states, the Secretary of State's elected. In Pennsylvania, it's appointed. So this guy gets to appoint the person who oversees elections. And he's told us what he wants to do. There's nothing democratic about this, lowercase d.
And once you know what they're going to do, look, here's the deal. If I tell you I'm going to smack you in the face tomorrow morning, and I tell you on Tuesday I'm going to smack you in the face, and I tell you on Thursday I'm going to smack you in the face, and when I smack you in the face on Saturday and you've not prepared yourself for that,
right?
You deserve every ounce of pain that comes when I slap you in the face.
Right. 5 fingers to the face.
They're telling us what we're going to do when you give us those. So here's the answer to the question posed to Mitch McConnell. The question was, so if Republicans can regain control of the House and the Senate, you get the power this November. What are you going to do with it? And his response is, well, I'll tell you when you give us the power.
Right.
No, you ain't got to wait, bitch.
Right.
Every candidate that's running out here under the Trump flag is telling you. Mastriano's telling you what I'm going to do when you give me the power.
Here's the flip side to that, Michael. The Democrats need to be pointing out what the Republicans are planning to do if they get back into power.
Okay, Tara, so why aren't they doing it?
I don't know. Ask them. We've been trying to tell them this for this is what we were doing at the Lincoln Project with the show. Every time we're on television, we're trying to give tough love to our Democratic brothers and sisters to let them know.
With tough love, get your ass up and run a campaign, an information campaign. Wait a tough love, baby. We are past tough love.
Listen,
tough love was January.
Yeah, I hear
tough
you.
Love was maybe April. At this point, people should be getting smacked and awakened. I don't know. I mean, I've talked to Rick about this.
Yeah.
I've talked to you about this. I've talked to Reed about this. I've talked to friends and family in the democracy space about this. And the one response amongst all of us is, huh? What are they doing?
Right. Because we know we are on the other side of this. We were part of this mess before. So we understand the nature of the enemy here. And we're trying to give them the playbook. We're trying to get people to understand the severity of this, how to do it, and giving them the tools to do it. It's so insane to me. I saw, after everything that's gone on, right? I just saw a poll that showed that the enthusiasm gap for the midterm elections, Republicans have a 7% advantage over Democrats.
Of course they do.
What is it going to take to light a fire under the ass of Democrats? I don't understand
because
this.
I'm sorry, Tara. Miss Tara, may I just for a moment explain where we are with our friends on the left?
I yield to my friend, the chairman.
For a moment. We are fretting at the moment over one senator from West Virginia who has yet again denied us the ability to put forth a sound environmental policy that we know every American out there is waiting for with bated breath. We're so frustrated in our purposes by this individual. We are fretting and gnashing our teeth over the fact that at this moment, the public is not responding to our entreaties of them to get on board with our Green New Deal, or to get on board with our desire to put abortion clinics on federal lands. Even though we've had a phalanx of lawyers tell us we can't do that, but that's okay. That's our desire. The point is,
they're focusing on the wrong stuff.
You're focusing on the wrong stuff. The American people, in all of their sometimes whacked out wisdom, they do tell us what they want us to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? At the end of the day, yes, they may be a little bit put off by, high gas prices, which are coming down, and inflation, which was related to last month, not this month.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Because inflation, just so everybody understands out there, when you hear the inflation reports, they're looking backwards. They're not projecting what inflation will be.
Right.
They're projecting what inflation was.
Yep.
Okay? So understand, I'm sorry, Tara and I, we had to explain that to you because the Dems didn't explain that to you at the beginning of all of this. So, but understand where we are right now. We have a very good economy. Yes, there are pockets that are still trying to fend off recession. We spent a hell of a lot of money to get our asses out of COVID.
Yep.
All right. You wanted us to do that. You told us that was what you wanted, and it was done.
And it contributed to the inflation. There's a cost to that.
Contributed to the inflation. Why? Because on top of the damn $8 trillion Republicans spent on a tax cut that you didn't benefit from, by the way.
Right.
Biden spent another, $2 trillion. All right. So we're 10 in the hole here. And yeah, you know what? The bill's got to be paid. But despite all of that, here's the rub. Going into this fall, the only question you should be asking yourself is as we get set up for the next presidential election, who's going to have our back when it comes to this democracy? Who's going to have our back in understanding and appreciating that our system, while it has its flaws, is largely fail-proof when it comes to cheating, right? We had 60 judges tell us there was no cheating in the last election, and yet you have one party that insists that there was. You had a Supreme Court tell us there was no cheating in the last election, and yet you have one party that told you there was. You have the Republican Secretary of State of the state of Georgia and the states of Arizona and elsewhere tell us there was no cheating in our state. Michigan, there was no cheating in our states. Ohio, no cheating in our states. And yet Republicans insist that there was. So riddle me this. Why would you give them power back?
Right. Exactly.
Okay, I get it. I get how you feel about inflation. I get how you feel about high gas prices. I feel the same way. But you know what? That's a transitory thing. This democracy ain't, baby. Because when it's gone, when you give it to people who want to rule over you by lying to you and telling you that January 6th was just some, what was the phrase they used again, Tara?
Legitimate political discourse.
Legitimate political discourse. Ask yourself, do you believe that? Do you believe that shit? Do you believe January 6th was legitimate political discourse? Ask the wife of the 2 police officers who died if they thought it was legitimate political discourse. Ask the officers who are dealing with the PTSD from January 6th if it was legitimate political discourse. Ask the Black officers who were called the N-word by their fellow white citizens if that was legitimate political discourse, as they were shitting in the halls of the Congress and peeing on the walls and stealing stuff out of the desk of our elected officials. So those are the questions you need to ask yourself going into this November as you size up both parties.
And if the answer is you're okay with any of that, then I have said and will continue to say that you do not support democracy.
No.
You actually do not support what this country stands for. You don't support our constitutional republic. You support a neo-fascist authoritarian system that is antithetical to everything our founding fathers fought for and established, everything that our forefathers who came before us fought for and established. You are not a patriot. You are a traitor.
Preach.
So I've said this over and over again that we need to be challenging people which side they are on, because in this case, there is a binary choice. It's either that side or this side. You're either on the side of democracy or you're not. There is no freaking middle ground anymore. And if January 6th hasn't shaken people and awakened them, I don't know what it's going to take.
Yeah. Well, I will rest on that sister's comment.
Speaking of,
Reverend Setmayer has brought it all home to us, and now we can pass the plate for the Lincoln Project in its efforts to secure our democracy one more again.
Oh my goodness. If you're joining us for the first time and you've never experienced Michael Steele After Dark, I hope you are enjoying yourself as much as we are. It is glorious. You know what else is glorious, Michael?
What's that?
Steve Bannon in court.
He of 7 shirts. Game of Thrones had to deal with the 7 kingdoms. Not us. Not us. We have to deal with he of 7 shirts. God help us when he starts taking them off.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I digress.
Yes. Oh my God. Well, Bannon is in court because he has refused to cooperate with January 6th. He's been held in contempt of Congress, which is a real thing. And DOJ is looking to prosecute him. And he's tried every defense possible to try to delay this, to try to make up bullshit to get out of it. But the law, he's taken on the law, and this time the law is winning because when you don't have the president of the United States as your buddy and your patron anymore, you can't get away with illegal shit. And so now the chickens are coming home to roost for Bannon. So right now they're in the jury phase, right, where they're picking the jurors. And he tried to claim, and it's a Trump-appointed judge, by the way, just so everyone understands. This isn't some, progressive Obama judge. No, it's a Trump-appointed judge that is telling Steve Bannon, yeah, okay, no.
Well, I love the banner we have up here. I love it. It was like, it reminds me of that progressive commercial. Can I have a delay? Denied.
Right.
I love it. I love it. Finally.
Yes, finally, because the problem has been that a lot of these people, they don't understand the word no because they've gotten away with so much stuff, and like particularly Trump on down. These people, it was the wild freaking West when Trump was in office. And now that's not the case anymore. We have a functioning Department of Justice. We have an actual real president who respects the laws and actually faithfully upholds his oath of office and isn't a traitorous bastard. So Bannon is, I think, and I've seen a couple of lawyers on television who also think that Bannon may see some jail time here.
Yes.
They think that he actually might see some jail time, and I would love it.
Tara, if I may.
Yes.
If you had told us a subpoena to go suck it.
Right.
If I had told a subpoena to go suck it.
Yep.
What do you think would happen to either one of us?
Yes.
I asked to be put in jail.
Of course.
You're going to go to jail. There was nothing illegal about it. You had no privileges to cover your ass on it, and you told the commission to go sit on it. And they're like, okay, well, here, deal with some paper because you got to now go answer to a judge. So that is exactly what should happen because it would happen to the rest of us. And
absolutely.
Could you please share with me your opinion on this point? Speaking of people who think they're above the law, can we get over this whole, I don't know, Donald Trump, if he did something wrong, if we should prosecute him because he's a former president, and Lord, I don't know what we should do. You do what you do to the rest of us who violate the laws of this country, who try, if any member of any other group had been orchestrated by you or me to go out and, I don't know, storm a government building that resulted in the death of officers defending that building. I don't care if it was the U.S. Capitol. It could have been,
any building.
NBA, right?
Yep.
If you and I had gone out and said, you know what, I'm sick and tired of waiting in the line for my damn license, and these sons of bitches are gonna pay.
Right.
And that when I show up, I should get my license automatically because I am who I am, and that's all I say I am, right? And foment this uprising at the local MVA, and the police officers and the good public servants who serve in those buildings are harmed and, God forbid, killed. What do you think happens to us to me because I'm the former lieutenant governor of the state of Maryland?
You're going to jail.
Thank you.
Yes. And here to make it even simpler. If that had been Black Lives Matter.
Oh, well, child, please.
Exactly. That's all. Let's just keep it simple. Let's keep it 100 with that. If that had been Black Lives Matter and there was a paper trail that showed that Barack Obama sat back and allowed Black Lives Matter to protesters / rioters, insurrectionists, to pre-plan an event. He was all up in it with the leadership, and then he sat back in the White House and watched it, sipping Diet Cokes as that unfolded.
And cheering it on.
And cheering it on. And cheering on.
Doing a rewind on the live feed so he can see it again.
Right. And knowing that sending his mob up there was going to try to drag and quarter the Vice President Biden at the time. And he said, well, maybe he deserved it because he didn't do what we want. Can you imagine? Republicans would have been screaming bloody murder have him impeached, thrown out, and sent to Gitmo. I don't want to hear it. The double standard here is so fucking unbelievable that it's hard to even stomach. So Merrick Garland, call your office, because this whole thing here going on with this prudence about, making sure that, well, it's his, it could be political and it's the first time ever. I don't give a damn. It's the first time we've ever had a treasonous president sitting in the White House encouraging an insurrection against our government to interrupt a government proceeding to certify a presidential election. Prosecute this son of a bitch. This should be, if it's not him, then who?
Boom.
There you go. There's my thoughts on that.
Oh.
I want to get your thoughts on this too, because
Yes.
I'm so infuriated by this. This is the Michael and Tara After Dark thing here. The Secret Service, the breaking news that's come out about how the Secret Service all of a sudden lost the text messages for January 5th and 6th. The Inspector General of the Department of Homeland Security discovered this because they were investigating some other shady shit that was going on. And they were like, oh, by the way, we need those text messages between the agents that were in the middle of all of this because there was a lot going on. And the Secret Service went, what messages?
Messages?
I don't know what happened to them. The dog ate our messages.
Yeah, we no. I didn't
Okay.
know.
It was a device replacement. It was a software upgrade. It was the aliens came down and took it. It was part of the James Webb Telescope radio signals. I don't know.
It was a pretty picture, 44 quadrillion miles away from here. And we can't reach it.
Right. It got beamed into space. It's 13 million miles away in the Stefan Quintet galaxies they discovered. They came up with every excuse. And the National Archives are now investigating whether this is a criminal thing because they're not supposed to get rid of them. These are federal records. Okay.
Can you make that point to those who have joined us this evening? And this is very important because, folks, shit just doesn't happen because somebody wants it to. All right. It happens because there's a law that tells you that requires you to do certain things.
Right.
And when you're in government, I've been in government and in and out of government a lot in my life. I started working for the federal government when I was 18. And okay, I know what this process is. There are rules. And one of the big rules that is a big no-no for every government agency, every last friggin' one of them, is that when you have a piece of paper that has government-related shit on it, when you are done with that piece of paper, it has to be appropriately archived.
Correct.
You cannot just go, oh yeah, well, we don't need this shit no more. So we just we don't need this no more. Oh, I'm sorry. Oops, delete. Don't need that no more on here. That's
that's a result of what happened at Watergate. Because they went back and went, we're gonna
piece of paper, by the way. So I hope I can print that.
I hope you can put it back together. Like tape up some of the things that the archives got taped up because White House staff under Trump had to tape stuff back together because of what you just said. There's the Presidential Records Act. That is a federal statute that requires, even if he jots down a doodle on a napkin, it goes to the archives. Because if he did that doodle on a napkin in the Oval Office, it's official business. So, the Secret Service is part of the executive branch and they have the Federal Records Act. They're not allowed to get rid of this stuff. So this is a mess. This is a hot mess. And I'm really disappointed in the Secret Service. They've had scandal after scandal. And I've said this before. Carol Leonnig wrote an incredible book called Zero Fail that came out last year, diving into the last decade and a half of the Secret Service and then some historical parts of it, but mainly focusing on what the hell has happened to this once elite agency.
What do you think has happened? Because
this is what I think.
So,
you want to know what I think?
Yeah, but just real quick so people have context. This is not, again, something that we're just now realizing this under the Trump administration where he takes, a Secret Service agent and makes him the friggin' deputy chief of staff.
Deputy chief of staff for security.
That's just so out of
never happened.
Beyond words.
Yep.
But what you're talking about, Tara, there is a growing and persistent underbelly to the organization that Carol in her book and others have written about and are starting to expose. What do you think that's all about?
So what I think, and from what I've heard, is that, the CYA culture and the good old boy culture within the Secret Service exists. And it wouldn't be the first time that people in positions of authority have tried to clean up messes and haven't had the wherewithal or the will or the leadership to say, cut this shit out now. And that has been a failure of leadership from the top for several directors of the Secret Service over the last 15 years or so. And it's time now. I mean, Murray, who is the director during this time, who allowed this to go on under Trump, by the way, with this Tony Ornato. Tony Ornato was on the Trump detail, and Carol's book outlines this, and there's been other reporting in the public space about this, that Tony Ornato, Bobby Engel, and a couple of other agents were so up Trump's ass that it made other agents on the detail uncomfortable because they were such sycophants of Donald Trump. So much so that Tony Ornato took a leave of absence from the Secret Service to become a political appointee in the White House. They let him back in, which is the most outrageous thing ever. I agree with you. They should have been. Not only did they let him back in, they gave him a cushy job at the training center in Beltsville.
No, he should be
as assistant director. Okay,
he should be gone. He should be
absolutely.
Gone.
He should have been.
He's a poison apple now among all the good apples.
And he's in the middle of this whole foray and this disaster with January 6th after Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony. He's in the middle of all of this, and he tried to, through anonymous sources, we all know who it actually was, trying to discredit her. Meanwhile, they're the ones whose credibility is shot in this.
Yeah, because notice he and others trying to discredit Cassidy, right?
Right.
They haven't come forward, have they?
No.
To put the hand up and go, I swear under God that I'm about to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Oh no, excuse me. I'll be right back.
Right, exactly. Because she did it under oath. They haven't, because there's a penalty of perjury if you lie under oath.
Just a little thing.
So, so this is a mess. And then that was a mess before this whole thing about the text messages disappearing. And it is a failure of leadership at the top. And here's an opportunity now that Murray is leaving. I hope that Biden has an opportunity to put in a new director that puts his foot down and cleans up the agency, because this is completely unacceptable.
Because
unacceptable.
You've got men and women that they protect. That's an important part of this. But people need to understand, the Secret Service is just among an elite group of police agencies in our government. So their origins are out of the Department of Treasury.
Yep.
They do investigations in the financial market space. They do investigations, obviously, in terms of what happens to the people they guard, but they also touch on a number of other areas. So you're absolutely right, Tara. They need new leadership that's going to clean house, starting with Ornato and anyone else of his ilk who have Trump up their ass syndrome.
Absolutely. There's a reason why President Biden decided that he wanted to bring back agents from his vice presidential detail who he felt comfortable with, which is also, that tells you right there. We even heard during testimony that Vice President Pence's staff was concerned about PPD and Trump's agents because of Tony Ornato. That's why, I'm not going to lionize Mike Pence here, but there is a reason why he said he wasn't getting into that limo, because they were worried they were going to whisk him off to Alaska so that he could certify the election. That's crazy.
If Pence had gotten in that car, he'd still be in that car.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Sir, we're getting close to Washington. We'd be there in another 3 weeks.
Exactly. So, there's something to be said. And unfortunately, there are a lot of great agents who aren't assholes like these guys that are being tarnished because of this lack of leadership and what's happening there. And I hope they get it together, because the Secret Service and the men and women who are hardworking and apolitical, who do their jobs really well, do not deserve this. But before we go, I know we got to touch on a little January 6th, since the committee is wrapping up this part one, I think, of season one here. I had Hugo Lowell from The Guardian on with me last Thursday, and I joked with him that it feels like a Netflix series where they've released like the first part and the second part coming later, like Stranger Things. I don't believe that this is the final hearing. They're billing it as that now, but I think it's the season finale for now, part one. But I think this every hearing there's been some amount of shock and awe that when you think it couldn't get any worse, right? This one is where they're going to focus on Trump's inaction, the infamous 187 minutes of him sitting in the White House, getting off on the fact that he sent a violent mob to ransack the Capitol because he didn't get what he wanted, and to possibly hang the vice president and kill whoever else. Matt Pottinger, who's a former national security advisor guy, straight shooter, and someone who he's been billed as a Trump guy, and he really is not necessarily a Trump guy. He was one of the smarter national security guys who like, thank God people like him were there doing their
one
job.
who quit when Trump sent that email out.
Right. He resigned when Trump sent the email out about Pence.
Right.
And then this other woman, Sarah Matthews, I don't really know her, but she was in the comm shop. I think she was deputy press secretary. And they're going to give a TikTok, a minute by minute account of what they saw firsthand during this whole thing, which I think is going to be really, really damning. I mean, as if everything else hasn't been damning to this point, but I think this is really going to be good. I hope that they bring it home.
I don't. I mean, to your first point, I don't think they bring it all the way home, and I don't think they should. I think this committee should go until January 3rd. That's when the new Congress is set. And if the Republicans take over, then at that point they end.
Well, that's a good point, because if it's a lame duck Congress, they can basically do whatever the hell they want at that point.
There's no need to. There's nothing that the Republicans can do, even though they will have won the majority of seats in the House. That won't happen until January 3rd when the gavel is passed. They can push forward, and as you said, they can wrap up season 2 that quickly,
right?
Because they've got it. So I think that that's their plan. The chairman, Benny Thompson, I hope he does well. He's got COVID, but
yeah, I heard.
He indicated as much that, oh yeah, we're prepared to go into September, October, and that's good.
Yeah.
So there's that piece. The other thing to your point about wrapping it up. I don't think they will necessarily. I think we're going to get the cliffhanger this Thursday, right? We're gonna get into that 187 minutes, and we're gonna be sitting there going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And I think then what they're going to do, because as both the chairman, Chairman Thompson, and the co-chair Cheney have said that. They're still talking to people.
Right.
People are still coming up. People say, excuse me, can I have a moment with you all? Y'all said something last week. I think I've got some information that may help fill out a little bit. So people are out of the woodwork, apparently.
Yes. And to your point,
all kinds of shit.
To your point on that, Hugo Lowell kind of broke a little news on the show last Thursday, making that point, because I asked him kind of how Republicans and Democrats are handling this up on the Hill. And he said that what's been most remarkable is how many Republican staffers are now coming forward and indicating their desire to cooperate with the committee. Yes, maybe. And I was like, well, maybe they finally, found some patriotism and decided to do the right thing. Or maybe it's just because they want to cover their own asses because they see what they're they could be in some trouble.
Hill rats don't know how to do anything else other than that. So
that's right.
They're covered. Okay, fine. You can cover your ass as long as we get the truth.
That's right.
As long as it's exposing the hypocrisies and the lies.
That's right.
So I don't need the members to come out if the staff is talking.
Yes,
so that's
because
they're punks. We know they're punks, so we know the members are punks. So,
absolutely. Look
they
at who's
showed
testified.
themselves when they went back and voted for.
That's right. That's right.
The election. So.
That's exactly right. And look who has come forward and given testimony at great personal risk to themselves and their careers. It's been the lower level junior staffers, not the big tough guys with the titles and the security clearances. It's sickening and infuriating, but not surprising, to be honest, because they're a bunch of chicken shits, and we've seen this. I just saw that there's breaking news coming through, speaking of people who may be paying a price, that now 16 Trump supporters who tried to act as those fake electors, they could face charges now in the criminal investigation in Georgia. They're not playing. Fannie Willis isn't playing down there in Georgia.
How did that ever happen?
Right.
Wait a minute. No, excuse me. No one told me that I would go to jail.
Right. Well, they all thought that. Remember, that's why we saw all these congressmen that were asking for pardons preemptively, because they knew they were in the middle of some illegal shit, but they figured out Trump's got our back. We can do whatever we want. And they realized, God, no, he doesn't.
Those fake electors should call Donald Trump, because he's going to pay your legal bills for you. He told you he would.
Right.
Here's to Trump. He's going to pay my legal bills. There you go. Call that bitch up and say, yo, I need a lawyer.
Yeah, we should put the number up to the switchboard at Bedminster. Call Bedminster up and say, we'd like to talk to Mr. Trump.
Can I speak to Mr. Trump because I need a lawyer? Yeah, come on, y'all can't be that stupid. He told you. He told you he was going to cover you, so you're good. That's Michael. Good. Fake electors could face charges. Absolutely, yes. They should. Should. One of them.
That's right, and they should, because in another country, I mean, that's some banana republic shit. Yeah. What do they think? They were just going to show up. No, we're the real electors and get the hell out of here. What? I mean, this scheme, and I think to your point, and when I say wrap it up, I meant like wrap up this part, encapsulate everything so that it's easily digestible for the American people to understand. Right. Because I think season 2 is going to focus on this aspect. The aspect of the fake electors, the money trail, even more in more detail.
Money trail,
because we all know, follow the money
trail.
Right? Who was financing this? Ginny Thomas.
A lot of people made a whole lot of cash on the back of overthrowing this government.
Absolutely. And the point is, it was premeditated. This was not a spontaneous riot. No, this wasn't just a bunch of people that decided that they got all worked up and they're going to go ransack the Capitol. This was planned very meticulously for months. And Steve Bannon was one of those people who was fomenting this from his perch at behind the podcast table of the war room. And now, like I said, I think they're going to put those dots together even more, because this is where the real criminality comes into play. And the DOJ seems to be behind the curve here. I'm hoping they're not. I hope they're really paying attention and that they're taking notes, copious ones, to put it in an indictment for a couple of people.
I hope you're right.
I know.
I'm sorry. Merrick Garland scares me.
I know.
I would have probably selected someone else for that position, but that's me.
Well, it is what it is. At least we know that he's coming from an honest place. He may be too prudent.
And it's not about his honesty and his integrity.
He's too prudent.
Yeah. You needed someone to come in on the back end of Trump who has a political sixth sense in the moment to understand exactly how these pieces are set up on the chessboard. And it is not doing what a Trumper would do, and that is using the institution to exact political punishment, but to use the power of the institution to fix the use of the institution as a political sledgehammer against the opponents of the president. And it's just a matter of saying, okay, I recognize he's the former president, but the active word here is former. Mm-hmm. He's not the current president. And so you are held responsible for your actions when they involve committing a crime. I don't care if they occur while you were in office or after you were in office. You just can't, I can't go out and rob banks as lieutenant governor, and then when I'm no longer lieutenant governor, everybody go, well, we can't prosecute you because you were the lieutenant governor.
This is a time for that standard to be thrown out the window. If this is not an exigent circumstance, I don't know what is.
Right.
So that, all of that gentlemanly, we're going to respect the political process and blah, blah, blah. That shit is just guidance. It is not the law. And, to be a little bit more crass than you have been, that they need an attorney general with a set of balls that isn't afraid to say, this is bullshit. The former president of the United States cannot behave this way, because we need to make sure this never happens again. What we just saw was a practice run for a coup. And if people aren't held accountable, they'll be more successful next time. So you know what? This ends now. This one's getting charged with seditious conspiracy. This one's getting charged with X, Y, and Z, and they're fucking going to jail, because guess what? The Constitution says they should. The end. That's the kind of attorney general I wish that we had, even though Merrick Garland's a good guy. But you know what? He needs a little Jersey in him to say enough is enough.
I love it. Are you there, Garland? It's me, America.
It's democracy.
This shit is just guidance.
Right. Well, on that note, Michael Steele, as always, my dear, it is a pleasure to have you on the show with me. Michael Steele After Dark is one of my favorite times of the year. It's like a holiday.
I love it. I look forward to Look, we're gonna have a whole lot more moments like this as we get closer to November. I just want to leave everybody with, I know a lot of folks who are part of the Lincoln Project family and a part of this network and the efforts. I get where your heart is, and I know where your love is for the country, because you showed it in 20. So I'm just going to ask you to do the double down thing. You got friends, you got families, you got neighbors, you got communities out there that you touch. Please remind them that what happened in 2020 and in January of 2021 was the tip of the spear. It was a run through. It was a precursor. It was a rehearsal for what is about to come beginning this fall. They want the power back. They take the House, they take the Senate, and that sets them up to throw the election to the House in 2024. And you know how this ends. So the fight for democracy is the fight for all of us, and that's exactly right. And I appreciate being linked arm in arm with all of you in this effort. So thank you for that. And Tara, I love you. You're like my sister, and you literally are like my sister, because you and my sister are so much alike. So I really appreciate you. I know it's been hard for Republicans like you and me, and we still hold the torch just an inch higher every day. So.
Well, I appreciate you, Michael. Thank you. I love you too. And unlike you, I left them motherfuckers behind. On that note, I'm still waiting for you to come with me.
I knew you were going to bring that up. That's why I drink. I numb myself to that reality.
I don't know. We're going to get you. We're going to get you there. Michael Steele, I love you. And I'll see you soon, my friend.
All righty. Take care now. See y'all.
Oh my goodness. It's true. Michael Steele and I have known each other for over 20 years. He is really, truly like family to me. So I hope you all enjoyed that as much as I do. And I'm going to leave you with something, actually escapism, because you know that we're space nerds here. And we talked about this last week. The James Webb Telescope discoveries are just extraordinary. So if you need a break, you need a timeline cleanser from the doom scrolling and the doom Googling, watch our ad that we put together, paying homage to the absolute amazing human ingenuity that brought us the images from the James Webb Telescope. And tomorrow, don't forget to watch our sister show, We're Speaking, and we will see you. Rick will be back on Thursday, post January 6th hearing. We will be here bringing you our analysis. See you Thursday.